Have you ever experienced that gut-wrenching feeling of disappointment when you learned that the campground you want to book your campsite at was booked? As you continue to search for available campsites, the clock is ticking and the window of opportunity for your camping adventure narrows. Each fully booked campground is a sign that feels like a door is closing, stopping you from enjoying the tranquility and the adventure that you were hoping for. Okay, that might have been a little dramatic, but honestly, I felt that way before when I discovered all the campsites at a campground were booked during the dates that I wanted to camp there. Or I wanted to make last-minute camping reservations and there wasn't a campsite to be found. But wait, there's some good news. I now have a few tips and tricks and resources up my sleeve to help you engage in a strategic line of defense against sold-out campground reservations. Hi, I'm Randy, and every Thursday I help you make big memories in small campers. And Thursdays are my favorite days because we get to hang out together. That's my heart. To say I'm an obsessed camper, well, you be the judge. I camped at 41 different camping spots last year alone, and the majority of these were from April through September, the busiest time of the year to try to nab the best campsites. But I'm also very particular about where I make my camping reservations at, because for me, it's not just about making that camping reservation, but it's finding a place that I'm gonna truly enjoy camping at. That's why the Allstays app has been my #1 go-to resource for finding camping spots. It has, of course, the traditional type of camping spots, but it also has allowed me to discover alternative places to camp when those traditional camping spots are all booked. They have private camping spots, state and national forests, national and state parks, county and city parks, BLM land, Army Corps of Engineers, and more. But the #1 reason that I love using this app is the user reviews, ratings, and pictures. If you're like me, you're not a full-timer, so our weekends and the occasional vacation time that we get is our precious camping time. I love reading the reviews and looking at the pictures from others that have had first-hand experience at the campground. This helps me know if I'm gonna enjoy camping there or if I'm not gonna enjoy camping there. My second line of defense is CampNab. I use this service when I've exhausted all campground options using the Allstays app, and CampNab has saved the day for me so many times, especially when I'm trying to make a reservation at one of those really popular campgrounds or it's over a holiday weekend. I plan ahead and I'm ready to pounce on the day that campground reservations open and become available for making a reservation. But lately there have been several times when others have beaten me to the punch, and in just seconds, all of the campsites were gone during the days that I wanted to camp there. That's why I love using CampNab. And here are the 2 scenarios that I use CampNab for. The first is when there's a specific campground that I want to camp at, but all the campsites are booked. Second, when there's a specific campsite that I want to camp at, but that campsite is booked. So CampNab works behind the scenes, and CampNab will alert us when there's been a campsite reservation cancellation, which I found out happens more frequently than I thought it would because, well, life happens and people sometimes have to cancel their reservations. And when this happens, CampNab will alert you with a text message on your phone so you can fly into action and nab that camping spot before somebody else does. But as I mentioned, maybe my favorite way to use CampNab is when there is a campsite or maybe a few campsites at the campground that are more desirable. And these are the campsites that I want to camp at. Yes, I've confessed this before. I'm kind of a campsite snob. If I'm camping at a campground that has lakefront camping spots, I want to nab one of those camping spots. And I love CampNab so much that I became an affiliate. So if you think CampNab is a tool that you want to have in your camping reservation toolbox, I'm going to ask you to please use my CampNab affiliate link, which I'll leave right here and also in the video description below. You won't pay any more for this service, but I get a small commission. So I really appreciate you and I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay, if I can't find any campgrounds and I have not gotten any alerts from CampNav. There are 2 alternative camping resources that I turn to. But I guess that's not completely true, because one of these resources I've used when I just wanted to have a different type of camping experience. Someplace that was gonna be really different than a traditional campground experience. Like the time I camped on a pizza farm. There were a lot of things that made this experience really memorable, but the thing that stood out to me the most was the homemade pizza. They used fresh ingredients from the farm, and it was so delicious. But I've also camped at a brewery, a hideaway, and a fish farm. I found that sometimes it's really nice to step out of the ordinary and to experience something different. And I'm talking about Harvest Host and Hip Camp. Both of these resources offer really unique camping experiences. And they're similar in the way that they connect you as the camper with either a business or a private party that has a camping spot or a place for you to camp at. And while there are many similarities between these two, there are some big differences as well. I'm not going to go into all the details about the differences between these 2 camping alternative resources, because I did a previous video that explains everything you need to know. If you want to learn more about Harvest Host and Hip Camp, I'll leave a link to that video in the video description below. My next line of defense is to skip making camping reservations altogether. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? Because it does sound a little crazy. It was a few years ago when I stumbled upon and stayed at my first campground ever that did not accept reservations. And every camping spot at the campground was on a first come, first served basis. When my hubby and me are driving to a campground, if we see a sign that says camping down the road, we'll oftentimes go check it out. And I'm secretly thinking, maybe, just maybe, it's gonna be a hidden gem that no one knows about. Anyways, when we pulled into this campground, it was absolutely beautiful. But I was so surprised to find out that there were available spots on a Friday night. From then on, I've been hooked on first come, first served places to camp. I always thought that you needed to make camping reservations, or at least at the most beautiful camping spots for sure, but I was wrong. These camping spots tend to be a little more primitive, but oh wow. I've camped at some really spectacular first come, first served places. Now, some campgrounds, all their campsites are on a first come, first served basis, but some campgrounds have a few designated sites that are just used on a first come, first served basis. And many of these can be found on recreation.gov and at state forest campgrounds. Well, I get to skip the whole camping reservation process altogether. I've camped at enough first come, first served campsites that I know it sometimes makes a big difference if I can avoid arriving on a Friday night or on a Saturday. In one of my upcoming camping trips in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, 300 miles away from home, I'll be camping for over a week and I don't have any camping reservations. I did a previous video where I take you along on a past Upper Peninsula camping trip that I took where I didn't have any reservations. At this time, camping without reservations was a little newer to me, and because we were so far from home, I kind of wondered if I had gone a little crazy. But let's just say it was quite the adventure. If you want to experience what it's like to go RV camping without reservations, you need to watch this video next. Well, that's a wrap, and I can't wait to see you again next Thursday.